She's going to have to be nice about him, whereas the plan for the post-divorce book was to not only throw the British royal family under the bus, but to throw Harry under the bus too.
I think personally, they've separated their professional lives, but I think what's really a great problem for them now, as of the last few weeks, is that Meghan has got no real income anymore. She's finished.
A man who she abandoned for months to the media and now presents her mother, Doria, speaking for the first time, telling outright lies about her ex-husband. I mean, this was a calculated attempt.
Tom Bower, the legendary royal author, is sharpening his quill, set to reveal huge secrets inside Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's marriage.
Tom Bower says he's uncovered one detail that could completely change how people view Harry and Meghan's marriage. According to the veteran royal biographer, there's a clause in what he describes as their prenuptial agreement, page 14, clause 7, that he believes Harry signed without fully understanding. If Bower is right, that single clause could explain several decisions that have raised questions over the past few years. Yeah, I think that's the problem, but they play the Diana card, just as I would say that, unfortunately, in some way, Meghan plays the race card. She is always the victim, and the victim always gets unquestioned sympathy. That's the way it plays at the moment in society. It could explain why Meghan reportedly brought Sunshine Sachs back in January 2026. It could explain why Bower claims money has been quietly shifted since 2022. And it could explain why he now argues Harry may be facing the biggest financial mistake of his life. He realizes that Harry actually, throughout the last 5 years, whether there's an accusation of racism or all the stuff in his autobiography about the royal family and his father and his brother and Kate and Camilla, all that. Of course, it's been hugely damaging, and the popularity of the royal family has fallen because of Meghan and Harry's antics. Before we get to that clause, there's one important question. Why does Tom Bower's opinion carry so much weight? The answer is his track record. Bower isn't known as a celebrity gossip writer. He's a former barrister and an investigative journalist who spent decades digging into the lives of some of the world's most powerful public figures. Tom Bower is one of the most feared biographers in the world, and he's gone after Richard Branson, Tony Blair, and of course Meghan Markle. None of those people have successfully sued him because, like you, Paul, he's an elite-level journalist who checks his facts. And don't forget that these publishing companies are not stupid. They're not going to publish things that aren't true because they know they'll wind up in court. Over the years, he's written high-profile investigations into media tycoon Robert Maxwell, businessman Mohammed Al-Fayed, and entertainment executive Simon Cowell. Whether people agree with his conclusions or not, Bower has built a reputation for detailed research and lengthy investigations, and she is of absolutely no value either to the royal family or society. But she just sucks from it. She takes from it and exploits it and profits from it. So, I don't excuse and make no excuses about that. I didn't like Richard Branson or Robert Maxwell or Tony Blair, but it doesn't detract from the book. All it does is they get loads of books saying how wonderful they are. I write the opposite. I try to find that I write the truth, not what they want. That's exactly why his latest claims about Harry and Meghan are getting so much attention. When Tom Bower publishes a book, it doesn't simply go to print. Every major claim is reviewed by publishers and lawyers because his investigations have to withstand legal scrutiny. Bower has said he spent years researching Meghan's background, interviewing dozens of people connected to her life, including former colleagues, people who knew her professionally, and others with first-hand knowledge of different stages of her career. His reporting relies on interviews, documents, records, and extensive research rather than internet speculation or anonymous online rumors. No, I choose people who don't want to be written about on the whole, whose lives are shrouded in mystery and they want to hide their secrets, and I just love digging away to find out what they don't want us to know. I wrote 4 years ago a book about Prince Charles, and it was a story about how he had rehabilitated himself after Diana's death, and how Camilla also had to be rehabilitated. And it was a number one. It was a fascinating story. So when Meghan came along into the scene, I just thought, this is fascinating. How is this going to play out? To tell the truth, I spoke to very few friends of Meghan because she put a fatwa on anyone talking to me who she could. So I sent off dozens and dozens of emails to her friends, and most of them didn't even reply. That's why his books attract so much attention whenever he makes a new claim. But it's also important to separate his published reporting from claims that have not been independently verified. While Bauer has publicly discussed his views on Harry and Meghan's finances and legal arrangements, there is no public evidence confirming that he has personally examined a prenuptial agreement, reviewed specific clauses within one, or verified its contents through lawyers involved in drafting it. And my whole profession has been to puncture the bubble, to actually puncture the balloon and show the truth rather than their conjectured story, which they would like us all to accept. So, of course, I don't deny at all I don't like her. I think she is a person who's done huge damage to the royal family, has been deeply, deeply inaccurate on many issues. Likewise, there is no verified evidence that Meghan rehired Sunshine Sachs, specifically because of preparations for a divorce. Instead, Bauer's broader argument is that the legal and financial structure surrounding Harry and Meghan's business interests could become critically important if their marriage were ever to end. And according to Bauer, that's where the story takes a dramatic turn. As the fairy tale Prince Harry and Meghan Markle embarked on in 2016 became an absolute nightmare for them. Despite marrying in St. George's Chapel in Windsor, it seems like life hasn't been so rosy for the couple. They have gone through endless challenges, the vast majority of which are all self-inflicted. And this weekend we had some new news that seems to kind of reiterate the idea that Meghan Markle wants to go back to the past. She wants to relive her glory days because she has hired Sunshine Sachs as her new PR representatives who were representing her back in 2016. And at the same time, Harry is in the UK fighting for a court case that really has no bearing on any of this. But we have heard endlessly that he wants to re-establish himself. Most prenuptial agreements are fairly simple. They outline the assets each person brings into the marriage, explain how property would be divided if the couple separates, and often include provisions for spousal support or financial protections. Royal marriages, however, are much more complex because they involve royal titles, public duties, and assets connected to the crown. While the details of royal prenuptial agreements are private, their relationship has been powered by the storms around them, and not much else. They said there have been periods when the turmoil never seemed to stop, and strangely, it kept them united. Masochists, they've learned to function within the chaos. Constant drama and chaos and mayhem seem to be all that is tying them together at the moment. Well, that and those damn Sussex titles. Royal divorce settlements have historically addressed issues such as titles, financial arrangements, and official status. For example, after her divorce from King Charles III, Diana retained the title Diana, Princess of Wales, but no longer held the style of Her Royal Highness, showing that royal separations involve far more than an ordinary private agreement. You got to go back very briefly to the beginning, that Diana herself was the product of a very broken family. Her mother literally dumped the children, ran off with somebody else, and her father wasn't interested in his children, and nor was her stepmother really. So, she was a very broken woman when she met Prince Charles. And that was, as we all know, a terribly unhappy marriage. But she then became glamorous. She suddenly discovered her fame because she was very beautiful and very charming, and she loved the attention, and she obviously spotted particular journalists who not only attracted her, but would do what she wanted. Harry and Meghan's situation was also shaped by California law, where community property rules can affect assets and income earned during a marriage. That means earnings from ventures launched while they were married, such as media deals or joint business projects, could become relevant in the event of a divorce, depending on the circumstances and any agreements between the couple. Tom Bauer has argued that these legal and financial issues could become especially significant if the marriage were ever to end. However, there is no publicly verified evidence that Harry and Meghan's prenuptial agreement contains specific clauses governing their Netflix earnings, intellectual property rights, the Sussex brand, or Harry's memoir Spare. The actual terms of any such agreement have never been made public. Why? Because Meghan has played a leading role in many of their joint business ventures and has been publicly associated with major commercial projects undertaken by the couple, a huge warehouse full of leftover stock which nobody wants. And all of a sudden, the one guarantee, which was these continued drip-fed books which were meant to follow up Prince Harry's, let's be honest, sensational bestseller Spare, which did make him a lot of money, and he only gave a teeny tiny little proportion of it to send to Bali. It was something like, you take the pocket money and I'm going to keep the rest. Under California law, the ownership and division of income from those ventures would depend on a range of legal factors, including any agreements the couple may have in place. Tom Bower has argued that these financial arrangements could ultimately benefit Meghan if the marriage were ever to end. However, there is no publicly verified evidence that Meghan has a primary legal claim to all of their shared revenue streams. Nor is there verified evidence that Harry and Meghan amended a prenuptial agreement after their 2018 wedding, or that Harry signed such an amendment without fully reviewing it. Those claims have not been independently confirmed. So, this is kind of interesting. This is the woman that the papers are citing for this reporting, a longtime royal insider, a socialite. She's been right. I've been following her because she's great TV. She's been right about a lot, and she's claiming she's heard from several sources now that he's hired a lawyer, and it happens to be somebody who's a great divorce lawyer and specializes in divorce. And it dovetails with other reports that he is spending a lot of his time in 2 hotels, one of which is in Montecito, another of which is not too far away, as an escape from her. It's entirely plausible. All they've done for 5 years is complain and moan and see themselves as downtrodden victims. Prenuptial agreements can be amended after a marriage, and that is not unusual. Couples sometimes update them following major life changes such as having children, purchasing significant assets, relocating, or launching new businesses together. Whether Harry and Meghan ever amended a prenuptial agreement has never been publicly confirmed. Tom Bower has suggested that their financial arrangements evolved as their circumstances changed, following their departure from royal duties in 2020, when they moved to California and signed major commercial deals. However, there is no publicly verified evidence that they executed a prenuptial amendment at that time. Meghan and Harry apparently might be heading for divorce, but there also isn't enough money to even go through the divorce. Let me read you about this. So, Meghan and Harry are reportedly so broke they can't even divorce. The legal fees would bankrupt them. Now this comes at a time as they live in a 9-bedroom, 16-bathroom Montecito mansion, which they purchased for $14.5 million in the summer of 2020. Now, according to people I've spoken to, they have multiple mortgages on the home. They're really trying to keep up with the Joneses. You also have to remember they spend a lot on security. I don't know why, because it doesn't seem anyone wants to go near them, but they spend a lot on security. But Spotify has dropped them. Netflix is pretty much done with them. They're persona non grata over there. And so, if they are heading for a divorce, Bower has also referenced conversations with legal sources familiar with Meghan's previous divorce. But the details of those discussions have not been independently verified or made public. People who have worked with Meghan have described her as detail-oriented when it comes to contracts and major business decisions. Tom Bower argues that those experiences influenced how she approached future commercial ventures after marrying Harry. However, there is no publicly verified evidence that her previous divorce directly shaped any legal arrangements in her marriage to Harry. What is publicly known is that Harry and Meghan signed major commercial deals with Netflix and Spotify after stepping back from royal duties, marking the beginning of their post-royal business strategy. And that was very critical, because at that moment last year she was about to promote her Netflix series and didn't want to firstly be seen with Harry, and secondly didn't want to go somewhere where she'd appear cheap and give it gratis. And this year, she is desperate to be seen, and that's why she turned up. So I think she has a major problem financially and professionally, and I think that Harry has a problem because he's lost his charity Sentabale in Africa. He's better off, and all these commercial deals are declining. I think that his reputation is somewhat toxic. Archewell, their foundation and business organization, was established around the same period Harry and Meghan were launching their post-royal commercial ventures. Tom Bower argues that their financial and business arrangements became increasingly important as those projects expanded. However, there is no publicly verified evidence that Harry and Meghan amended a prenuptial agreement during this period, or that such an agreement granted Meghan control over their joint brand. Public records do show Meghan serving in leadership roles within Archewell, but they do not establish ownership rights in the event of a separation. Bauer has argued that the way their business interests were structured could become highly significant if the marriage were ever to end. He has also pointed to Meghan's previous legal experience as part of his broader interpretation, although those conclusions have not been independently verified. Breaking right now. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle spent the week using the With Love Meghan promotional campaign to try and suggest that everything is rosy in their very, very rocky marriage. Not so fast, says Radar Online, which has revealed that the Sussex couple are now sleeping in separate beds. Let me take you through this bombshell, then we're going to get reaction from the royal YouTube sensation. According to Taz, here's the report though from Radar Online. Meghan Markle and Prince Harry's marriage is said to be under major strain as backlash has gotten under the Duchess's skin so much that she's sleeping apart from her husband and wondering whether or not she would be more popular on her own. Radar Online can reveal, amid ongoing rumors about the Sussexes' marriage being on the rocks, insiders told us Meghan is cracking under the pressure of public scrutiny as she tries to claw her way back into Hollywood and launch her lifestyle brand, leaving her marriage to Harry hanging by a thread. Insiders told us Meghan is starting to unravel and wonder if she would be better off as a solo act. Meghan is said to have even started to look up divorce lawyers. Sources claimed Harry was confronted by his unhappy wife. When Meghan divorced Trevor Engelson, very little about the legal negotiations became public and many details remain private. Tom Bauer argues that her earlier experiences influenced how she approached business, legal, and media decisions after marrying Harry. He has also highlighted Meghan's relationship with Sunshine Sachs, a well-known public relations firm that represented her during part of her time as a working royal. Sunshine Sachs has represented many high-profile celebrities over the years, including clients involved in major public controversies and high-profile separations. I would argue their Hollywood misadventure has been more of a nightmare than anything else, and they've gone from poor decision to bad decision to worse decision every single time. And with the hiring of Sunshine Sachs, I couldn't help but think, and Harry going back to the UK more or wanting to, can't help but think if the two of them had a time machine and knowing what they know now could have gone back to 2016, would they have made some different decisions? I can't help but wonder if the answer there is yes. Now, of course, this is just speculative. And they love their children. I'm sure to a certain extent they love each other. But we have a couple who has had a really unnecessarily difficult existence. And that's not the fault of the media. That is not the fault of his family. That's been their fault. Everything that has happened to them has been broadly their fault. And they can't seem to help recognize that. And so, what they're doing though, as things go sort of off the rails, is that they're regressing to, let's say, an earlier stage in life. Harry and Meghan later ended their relationship with the firm as they built their own communications operation through Archewell. Meghan has since worked with different communications advisors at various stages of her post-royal career. However, there is no publicly verified evidence that changes in PR representation were connected to preparations for a divorce, or that any such strategy existed. Tom Bauer argues that Meghan's growing focus on her own business ventures, including the launch of her lifestyle brand As Ever, reflects a broader effort to build an independent commercial identity. Those conclusions, however, remain his interpretation rather than independently verified fact, and the interest is how someone of that nature can become a global celebrity. And of course, the only reason is because she married into the most famous royal family in the world and jumped it. Yeah, and never stopped speaking about it, and that has been an amazing draw for her. She has made a huge amount of money, causing the misery to people who only had goodwill for her and gave her that platform. Yeah, so many people that reviewed this book talked about how they did get a sense that you admired Meghan's ambition. Meghan has increasingly focused on building her own business identity through ventures launched under her own name, including her lifestyle brand, As Ever. Public trademark filings and business announcements reflect that effort, and she has frequently appeared at business meetings and promotional events on her own. Tom Bauer argues this follows a broader pattern of establishing independent commercial ventures rather than relying solely on joint projects with Harry. However, there is no publicly verified evidence that these business decisions were part of preparations for a divorce. If in a few years they are divorced, I feel like financial strain is one of the top 2 or 3 reasons couples divorce, and it's clear something is not right here, right? There is something that just seems a little dicey to me with their finances. I would not be shocked if Meghan Markle leaves Prince Harry for someone wealthier. The problem is these billionaires she would want, like Elon Musk and these folks, they don't want to date Meghan Markle. Okay, these really successful men out here, who Meghan Markle would love to glom onto, and she would ditch Harry, for in a second, they want to date young, exciting women. They don't want like an ex-washed-up duchess, middle-aged, couple of divorces under her belt. Bauer believes the stronger evidence lies in how the couple's finances have evolved since 2022. The Netflix agreement was widely reported as being worth up to $100 million, but industry reporting has consistently noted that this represented the maximum potential value of the contract rather than an upfront payment. The final amount depended on completed productions and contractual milestones. Harry and Meghan released their documentary series. Meghan's lifestyle programming moved forward, but other announced projects, including the animated series Pearl, were canceled before production, meaning several elements of the original partnership never came to fruition. The point about Meghan is that she monetized herself by lying about the royal family and by damaging it deliberately with her lies. Oprah Winfrey on the Netflix series. That was her great sin, that having entered the family, she then, to promote herself, did a huge harm and has never really recovered, except that she is now quite notorious. She is someone who just fills so many people with hate and anger for the damage that she's done, just to promote herself, whereas Amber Heard did nothing to promote herself in that sense. She was the victim of circumstance, right? And that was not her fault at all, really. But I think that what we're really seeing at the moment is a frustration because I think that the royal family is finding it hard to communicate what exactly they're trying to do. Tom Bauer argues that Harry and Meghan's Netflix partnership ultimately generated far less than the headline figures reported when the deal was first announced, although the exact amount they received has never been publicly confirmed. He believes their business strategy shifted as several planned projects failed to move forward. Around that same time, Meghan began developing her own lifestyle brand, now known as Ever, and public trademark filings reflected that effort. She also created business entities connected to her personal ventures outside of Archewell. Tom Bauer argues that these moves point to a broader financial strategy, but there is no publicly verified evidence that they were part of preparations for a divorce or an asset protection plan. If Harry ever wants to get remarried again, he's going to have to ask William for permission. Now, the Wall Street Journal is not the type of publication to just throw that in. To me, it smacked. They had several people saying how unhappy the couple are, how unhappy Harry is, and that, he was thinking about it or had thought about it. However, the editors were like, listen, we can't put this in there. So, as a nod to their sources, it seems to me that they slipped that last line in, which really shot my eyebrows through the roof, and I was like, yep, there we go. Public records likewise do not confirm claims about separate investment accounts or legal restructuring for that purpose. Bauer says these developments show Meghan strengthening her independent commercial position, although those conclusions remain his interpretation rather than independently verified fact. Meghan has increasingly pursued business projects under her own name. Her partnership with Lemonade Media was announced as a solo venture, and The Bench was published as her own project. Tom Bauer argues that 2022 marked a significant shift, with Meghan placing greater emphasis on building an independent commercial identity. While Harry and Meghan continue to work together on selected ventures, photograph of Meghan wearing a droopy Snoopy nose and things somehow said, "Oh, that's the woman for me." It's ridiculous. I mean, this actually was calculated to undermine my book, because of course I got the real story that he got a blind date and was called up and all. And this is the other thing, which is one of the many, many lies she tells, that she arrived in London full career, single girl, wasn't interested. Of course she had been coming to London since 2013, hunting for a man to marry. She wanted an Englishman, she was on a manhunt, and she also wanted a famous, and she arrived in London immediately when she went to talk to the woman she was working for, said, "You know, Harry, can you arrange a blind date?" And the woman did. The whole thing is a tissue of lies, and Netflix knows it's untrue. And that is what's so shocking, that those executives in Hollywood are plotting to destroy the monarchy because they just see money in that, as do, of course, the Sussexes. He believes this reflects a broader long-term strategy, although there is no publicly verified evidence that these business decisions were connected to preparations for a divorce or to any private legal agreement between the couple. Bauer has also speculated about the future of Harry and Meghan's marriage, offering his own predictions about how events could unfold. However, those predictions remain his personal assessment and have not been supported by publicly available evidence. While California law sets residency and waiting period requirements for divorce proceedings, there is no verified indication that either Harry or Meghan has begun or intends to begin divorce proceedings. Meghan's team had a conversation with a publishing house to gauge interest in a book about a post-Harry divorce. And Vanity Fair said that the unidentified person allegedly acting on Meghan Markle's behalf made it clear that the couple were not getting divorced, but was seeking to know if such a divorce did happen. Would this publisher theoretically be interested in a book that took place in its aftermath? The article says that nothing was ever put on paper, and that no offer was ever made and no manuscript was produced. That claim, though, went unchallenged by the notoriously litigious Sussexes, which strikes anyone with half a brain as suspicious. Meghan has publicly established California as the base for her personal and business activities for several years. Tom Bauer argues that if Harry and Meghan were ever to divorce, California law and any private agreements between them would likely shape how their finances and business interests are handled. However, there is no publicly verified evidence that their prenuptial agreement contains clauses governing title usage, ownership of Archewell, intellectual property rights, or Harry's ability to profit from future projects. Nor is there verified evidence that Harry signed a later amendment without fully understanding its contents. Questions involving their Montecito home, shared assets, or business ventures would ultimately depend on the California law and the specific terms of any private agreements, none of which have been made public. And secondly, I don't think William would allow it. William, I'm sure, and I'm completely understandably, is not going to have Harry making more trouble in Britain. He's had enough problems with Andrew. He doesn't need more problems with Harry. And the trouble is that letting Harry and Meghan back into Britain to revalidate their royal status will only give them another boost to sell themselves, either in Australia or Canada or wherever, to make money out of their royal titles. And I think that'll be a disaster for the royal family. Child custody would also be determined by a California court based on the best interests of the children, rather than automatically favoring either parent. Tom Bauer has offered his own interpretation of how such issues might be resolved, but those conclusions remain speculative and have not been independently verified. Tom Bauer argues that if Harry and Meghan were ever involved in a custody dispute, a California court would focus on the children's best interests and each parent's role in their daily lives. However, there is no publicly verified evidence that either of them is preparing for such a case. Bauer also speculates that Harry may not fully understand the legal and financial consequences of a possible separation, but that remains his personal interpretation. He points to Harry's emotional appearances during his legal battles in London as signs of the pressure he has been under, though there is no independent evidence linking those moments to the state of his marriage. They needed money from America, and the director Michael Hornby retired after many years. And they appointed a very, very feisty black lawyer. And she discovered, and this is really interesting and all new, which comes out in the book, that Harry's image of knocking the royal family was very, very bad for raising money. And she told him, "Your image is not doing us any good, and your arguments with the royal family are actually undermining, and we're going to have to change." Tom Bauer argues that Harry appears to be under growing personal and legal pressure, but there is no publicly verified evidence linking that to the state of his marriage. He also suggests Harry may not fully understand the financial consequences of his legal battles, though that remains Bauer's interpretation. There is no verified evidence supporting claims about specific prenuptial clauses or amendments. Ultimately, Bauer believes Harry has made decisions whose long-term consequences he may only now be beginning to understand. That, however, remains his assessment rather than an independently verified fact. There you have it. Tom Bauer argues that Harry and Meghan's financial arrangements could become significant if they ever divorce. However, there is no publicly verified evidence supporting claims about specific prenuptial clauses or a 2020 amendment. Those conclusions remain Bauer's interpretation. What do you think? Is he uncovering a real story or connecting dots that aren't there? Let us know in the comments.